The slap echoed through the bar like a gunshot. Emma's cheek burned, but not from pain, from pure shock. Her best friend Sarah stood over her, eyes blazing with something darker than anger. "You think you can just do whatever you want, kiss whoever you want?" Sarah's voice cracked with venom. The entire bar had gone silent. Emma's hand trembled as she touched her face, unable to process what just happened. Her friend, her best friend of 10 years. The dare had been Sarah's idea in the first place. Kiss the most serious man in the bar, she'd said. "It'll be fun," she'd said. But now Sarah's boyfriend Marcus was whispering something in her ear, and suddenly Emma understood. The man she'd kissed wasn't just serious. He was Dominic Hale, and Sarah had known exactly who he was. Before we dive into what happens next, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you won't believe where this goes. 3 hours earlier, Emma Parker had been laughing, actually laughing, the kind of genuine stomach-hurting laughter that only comes after 2 glasses of wine and the company of women who've known you since college. The bar was packed, typical for a Friday night in Brooklyn, and their corner booth felt like a fortress against the rest of the world. "I'm serious," Sarah was saying, her eyes bright with mischief. "Look at him, that guy at the bar. He hasn't smiled once in the 45 minutes we've been here." Emma followed her gaze. The man in question sat alone at the far end of the bar, nursing what looked like whiskey. Dark suit, darker hair, the kind of posture that suggested military training, or maybe just a lifetime of expecting trouble. Everything about him screamed, "Leave me alone," in capital letters. "So," Emma said, taking another sip of her wine. "So," Rachel chimed in, leaning forward with that dangerous gleam she got when she was about to suggest something stupid. "We dare you to kiss him." Emma nearly choked. "Absolutely not." "Why not?" Sarah pressed. "You're always saying you want to be more spontaneous, more adventurous. Well, here's your chance. Kissing random strangers isn't adventurous, it's assault." "It's not assault if you make it charming," Rachel countered, as if that made any sense at all. "Just walk up, say something flirty, and plant one on him. If he's into it, you get his number. If he's not, you apologize and walk away. Either way, you'll have a story." Emma looked at the man again. He was handsome, she'd give him that. Sharp jawline, the kind of focused intensity that suggested he was thinking about something far more important than the noise around him. There was something almost magnetic about the way he commanded space without even trying. "I don't know," Emma said, but her voice had lost some of its conviction. "Come on," Sarah urged, and there was something in her tone that Emma couldn't quite place. Later, she'd remember this moment and wonder if she'd heard it even then, that edge of calculation. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because it made sense or fit into your 5-year plan, but just because? Emma hated that Sarah had a point. At 32, she'd built a successful event planning business by being careful, methodical, and always thinking 3 steps ahead. Spontaneity wasn't in her vocabulary anymore. Maybe it should be. "Fine," Emma heard herself say, "but if this goes badly, you're all buying my drinks for a month." The walk from their booth to the bar felt longer than it should have. Emma was aware of her friends watching, aware of the way her heart was hammering against her ribs, aware that this was possibly the dumbest thing she'd done since trying to cut her own bangs in college. Up close, the man was even more intimidating. Not threatening exactly, but imposing. Like standing too close to something powerful and trying to convince yourself it's safe. "Hi," Emma said, and "Wow, great start. Really eloquent." He turned his head, slowly, gray eyes meeting hers, with the kind of assessment that made her feel like she was being cataloged, analyzed, and filed away for future reference. He didn't speak, just waited. "I'm Emma," she tried again, "and I'm about to do something really stupid, but I want you to know it's not personal." One eyebrow lifted, barely. "Not personal." "Right. You see my friends over there?" She gestured vaguely behind her. "They dared me to kiss you, and normally I'd tell them to go to hell, but I've had just enough wine to think this might be a good idea. So I'm gonna kiss you now. If you want me to stop, just say so." Emma didn't give herself time to reconsider. She leaned in, pressed her lips to his, and counted. 1, 2, 3. Then she pulled back, already laughing at the absurdity of what she'd just done. But he wasn't laughing. He was staring at her with those cold gray eyes, and suddenly the bar felt smaller, quieter, like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room and replaced with something thicker, harder to breathe. You should never let people push you into something you don't truly choose, he said quietly. His voice was low controlled and carried the weight of someone who didn't waste words. Emma's smile faltered. I chose to do it. Did you? The question hung between them. Emma wanted to say yes, wanted to defend her decision, but something about the way he was looking at her made her pause. Had she chosen it? Or had she just been too afraid to say no to her friends? I did, she said more firmly this time. I wanted to. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but a softening. Like she'd passed some kind of test she hadn't known she was taking. Then you're braver than you think, he said. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. Or drunker. Or that. She laughed a real laugh this time and stuck out her hand. I'm Emma Parker, event planner, occasionally poor decision maker. Nice to meet you. He looked at her hand for a moment before taking it. His grip was firm, warm, and lasted exactly 2 seconds before he released her. Dominic, just Dominic. For now. There was something in the way he said it that made Emma think she should probably walk away. Something that suggested complications, secrets, things she was better off not knowing. But there was also something compelling about him. The way he seemed entirely self-contained, like he didn't need anything or anyone, but might choose to want them anyway. Well, just Dominic, thanks for being a good sport, Emma said. I should probably get back to my friends before they send a search party. You should. But Emma didn't move immediately, and neither did he. They stood there for a moment, locked in some kind of silent understanding that neither of them could quite name. Finally, Emma turned and walked back to her booth. Her friends erupted in cheers and questions, but Emma barely heard them. She was too busy trying to figure out why her hands were shaking and why she kept looking back at the bar, only to find Dominic watching her with that same unreadable expression. Oh my God, you actually did it, Rachel squealed. Did he say anything? Sarah asked, and there it was again, that edge in her voice that Emma couldn't identify. Just that I'm braver than I think, Emma said, draining the rest of her wine. That's so romantic. Rachel sighed. That's so serial killer, Sarah countered. Who talks like that? Emma laughed, but it felt forced, because Sarah was right. Who did talk like that, and why did Emma suddenly feel like she just stepped into something she didn't understand? The rest of the night passed in a blur of conversation and laughter. But Emma found herself distracted. She kept glancing at the bar, but Dominic had disappeared at some point. Probably for the best, she told herself. Whatever weird energy had existed between them was better left unexplored. It was past midnight when they finally called it a night. Emma hugged her friends goodbye and caught an Uber home to her apartment in Park Slope. She was tired, a little buzzed, and ready to forget this entire evening had happened. But when she checked her phone before bed, there were 17 text messages waiting for her. All from Sarah. The first one made her stomach drop. Emma, we need to talk, now. The next 16 were variations of the same panic. Call me. It's important. You don't understand what you did. Emma, please. Emma's hands were shaking as she dialed Sarah's number. Her friend picked up on the first ring. Thank God, Sarah breathed. Emma, do you have any idea who that man was? Dominic something. He didn't give me his last name. Dominic Hale. The name meant nothing to Emma. Okay, Emma, Dominic Hale runs half of Brooklyn. He's connected to people who make other people disappear. He's not someone you just walk up to and kiss on a dare. Emma's blood went cold. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you just kissed in one of the most dangerous men in New York. Marcus knows people who know people, and when he saw you at that bar, he nearly had a heart attack. Emma, you need to be careful. People like Dominic Hale don't just let things go. Emma wanted to laugh. This had to be some kind of joke, an extension of the dare, a way to keep the excitement going. But Sarah's voice was deadly serious, and there was real fear underneath the words. He seemed nice, Emma said weakly. Nice, Emma. Nice people don't run criminal empires. Nice people don't have bodyguards stationed at every exit. Nice people don't make grown men look terrified just by existing in the same room. Then why didn't you stop me? The question came out sharper than Emma intended, but suddenly she was angry. If Sarah had known who Dominic was, why let her walk into that situation? Why dare her in the first place? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Sarah finally spoke, her voice was small. I didn't think you'd actually do it. Emma hung up. She didn't want to hear excuses or explanations. She was tired and confused and starting to feel the first edges of real fear creeping in. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dominic's face. Those gray eyes, that controlled stillness, the way he looked at her like he could see straight through every defense she'd ever built. By morning, Emma had convinced herself that Sarah was overreacting. So what if Dominic was connected to some shady business deals that didn't make him a criminal mastermind? People exaggerated, rumors spread. Brooklyn was full of stories about tough guys and mob bosses, most of which were probably based on nothing more than old movies and paranoia. She made coffee, answered some work emails, and tried to focus on her upcoming event, a corporate retreat for a tech company that wanted team-building exercises that didn't feel like team-building exercises. It was exactly the kind of challenge Emma loved. Complicated but solvable. Clear objectives. Defined outcomes. Unlike everything about last night. Her phone buzzed around noon. Unknown number. Ms. Parker, this is Dominic Hale. I'd like to take you to dinner. Emma stared at the message for a full minute. Then she read it again. Then she checked to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. How did he get her number? More importantly, why did he want to see her again? This didn't fit with the dangerous criminal narrative Sarah had painted. Dangerous criminals didn't text polite dinner invitations. Before she could overthink it, Emma typed back, "How did you get my number?" The response came within seconds. I asked. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. Dinner tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. Emma felt a spike of irritation. I don't need a car, and I haven't said yes. You haven't said no. He had her there. Emma bit her lip, weighing her options. On one hand, Sarah's warnings were still echoing in her head. On the other hand, Dominic was giving her a choice. He wasn't demanding or threatening. He was asking. Granted, he was asking in the most presumptuous way possible, but it was still technically an ask. One dinner, Emma typed. Public place. I'll meet you there. Fair enough. He sent her an address to a restaurant in Manhattan. Emma recognized the name. It was the kind of place that required reservations months in advance and served portions so small they were basically conceptual. I'll be there, she confirmed, then immediately wondered if she'd just made the second biggest mistake of her week. The next 24 hours were torture. Emma changed her outfit 6 times, practiced what she'd say in the mirror, and came very close to canceling at least a dozen times. Rachel thought it was romantic. Sarah thought it was suicide. Emma's mother, when she made the mistake of mentioning it, thought Emma had finally lost her mind. You're going to dinner with a man you kissed on a dare, Emma Louise Parker. I raised you better than this. It's just dinner, Mom. Nothing is just dinner with men like that. Emma didn't ask how her mother knew what kind of man Dominic was. She was afraid of the answer. By the time 7 p.m. rolled around, Emma's nerves were shot. She wore a simple black dress, sophisticated but not trying too hard, and told herself this was no big deal. Just dinner with a man who might or might not run a criminal empire. Totally normal Friday night. The restaurant was exactly as pretentious as Emma had feared. All white tablecloths and hushed conversations, and waiters who moved like dancers. Dominic was already there, seated at a corner table that somehow felt both public and private. He stood when he saw her, and Emma noticed the way other diners glanced their way before quickly looking away. Emma, he said, pulling out her chair with old-fashioned courtesy that felt oddly genuine. You came. You sound surprised. I'm rarely surprised, but you're an exception. Emma sat trying to ignore the way her heart was racing. Is that your way of saying I'm unpredictable? It's my way of saying you're interesting. A waiter appeared with wine expensive, judging by the label, and poured without asking if they wanted it. Dominic must have ordered ahead. Emma tried to decide if that was considerate or controlling. So, Emma said, taking a sip of wine that probably cost more than her monthly electricity bill. Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room? Which elephant? The one where my friend told me you're some kind of crime boss and I should run screaming in the opposite direction. Dominic's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe, or respect. And yet you're here. I'm curious. Call it a character flaw. I'd call it brave. You keep saying that. I'm starting to think you have a limited vocabulary. This time he did smile. Small, barely there, but real. I know a lot of words, Emma. I just save them for when they matter. Emma leaned back in her chair, studying him. In the soft lighting of the restaurant, Dominic looked less intimidating and more human. Still intense, still carrying that sense of coiled power, but human. So are you going to tell me the truth about what you do, who you are? What would you like to know? Everything. Nothing. I don't know. Emma shook her head. This is insane. I don't even know you. Then get to know me, Beige. Is it that simple? It can be. Their food arrived small, artistic plates that looked like they belonged in a museum rather than on a dinner table. Emma picked at hers, too nervous to actually eat. Dominic ate with deliberate precision, like everything he did served a purpose. I run businesses, he said after a long silence. Some are legal, some exist in gray areas, some would definitely get me arrested if the right people were paying attention. Emma's breath caught. You're actually admitting that you asked for the truth. Most people lie. I'm not most people. Emma wanted to argue, to tell him that honesty about criminal activity wasn't the same as actually being honest, but something stopped her. Because there was a strange integrity to what Dominic was doing. He was giving her information, letting her make a choice based on reality rather than illusion. Why me? Emma asked. You could have anyone. Why go through all this trouble for someone who kissed you on a dare? Dominic set down his fork, giving her his full attention. Because you're the first person in a very long time who's looked at me and seen a man instead of a monster. Because when you kissed me, you weren't afraid. Because you made a choice, even if it was a stupid one, and you owned it. That's a lot to read into a 3-second kiss. I'm good at reading people. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. And what do you read in me? Strength, intelligence, fear that you're trying very hard to hide. He paused, and loneliness. The kind that comes from building walls so high you forget there's a world on the other side. Emma's throat tightened. How did he know that? How could he see the things she'd spent years hiding from everyone, including herself? That's a dangerous thing to say to someone you just met, she managed. I know dangerous, Emma. This isn't it. Then what is it? Honest. They finished dinner mostly in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that comes from two people who are trying to figure each other out and aren't sure what they'll find. By the time dessert arrived, something involving chocolate and gold leaf that Emma was pretty sure was illegal in several countries, she'd made a decision. I want to see you again, she said, surprised by her own boldness. But I need you to promise me something. What? No lies. Even if the truth is ugly or dangerous or something I don't want to hear. If we're doing this, whatever this is, I need honesty. Dominic reached across the table, taking her hand. His touch was warm, steady, and sent electricity racing up her arm. I promise. That easy. That easy. Emma squeezed his hand before pulling away. Then yes, I'd like to see you again. Dominic's smile was small but genuine. Tomorrow. Don't push your luck. I'm not lucky, Emma. I'm persistent. They left the restaurant together and Dominic walked her to where she'd parked. The street was quiet, just the distant sounds of traffic and the muted rhythm of the city at night. Emma turned to say goodbye and found Dominic watching her with that same intense focus he had had at the bar. Thank you, he said quietly, for taking a chance. Thank you for being honest. Always. Emma started to walk away, then turned back. Dominic, that thing you said about me being brave, I think you're brave too. It takes courage to tell the truth when lies would be easier. Something in his expression shifted, softened. Get home safe, Emma. I will. She drove home with her mind racing, replaying every moment of the evening. By the time she reached her apartment, she'd convinced herself that she was either embarking on the most interesting relationship of her life or making the worst decision imaginable. Her phone buzzed as she was getting ready for bed. A message from Dominic, sleep well, and Emma. You were right to choose me. I'll make sure you never regret it. Emma stared at the message, heart pounding. There was something both reassuring and terrifying about those words, like a promise and a threat wrapped into one. She was about to put her phone down when it buzzed again. Sarah, we need to talk, in person, tomorrow. Please. Emma closed her eyes, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Whatever Sarah wanted to say could wait. Right now, all Emma wanted was sleep and a few hours where she didn't have to think about dangerous men or complicated feelings or the way Dominic had looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. She fell asleep still wearing her dress phone clutched in her hand, dreaming of gray eyes and promises that felt like both salvation and damnation. Emma woke to her phone vibrating against her chest. For a disoriented moment, she couldn't remember where she was or why she was still wearing her dress. Then it all came flooding back. Dominic, the dinner, the promise. The phone buzzed again. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Emma let it go to voicemail, then immediately felt guilty. She'd been avoiding Sarah since their last conversation, and that wasn't fair. Whatever Sarah wanted to say, she deserved to be heard. Emma just wasn't ready to hear it yet. She showered, changed into jeans and a sweater, and was halfway through her second cup of coffee when someone knocked on her door. Not a gentle knock, a pounding that made her jump and spill coffee down her shirt. "Emma, I know you're in there." Sarah's voice. Emma considered pretending she was in home, then realized how ridiculous that was. They were adults. They could have an adult conversation. She opened the door. Sarah pushed past her without waiting for an invitation, Marcus trailing behind, looking uncomfortable. "We need to talk," Sarah said, her voice tight with barely controlled emotion. "Good morning to you too." "Don't." Sarah spun around and Emma saw something in her friend's face that made her stomach clench. Fear. Real bone-deep fear. "This isn't a joke, Emma. You went out with him. After everything I told you, you went out with Dominic Hale. It was just dinner. There's no such thing as just dinner with men like that." Sarah's voice cracked. "Marcus, tell her." Marcus looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Look, Emma, I don't know what Dominic told you, but you need to understand something. The Hale family doesn't date. They possess, they control, they make people disappear when it's convenient." Emma felt anger flash through her. "You don't know him." "Neither do you," Sarah shot back. "You kissed him once and had dinner. That's not knowing someone. That's barely meeting someone. Then why do you care so much?" The question came out sharper than Emma intended. "If I'm so stupid and reckless, why does it matter to you what I do?" Sarah's face went pale. Marcus put a hand on her arm, but she shook him off. "Because you're my friend. Because I don't want to see you get hurt. Or because you're jealous." The words hung in the air like smoke. Emma wanted to take them back immediately, but it was too late. Sarah's expression shifted from fear to fury in the space of a heartbeat. "Jealous? You think I'm jealous that you're throwing your life away on a criminal? I think you're jealous that for once I did something without asking your permission first. Oh, that's rich. Coming from someone who spent the last 5 years playing it safe and suddenly thinks one kiss makes her some kind of rebel." Emma felt something inside her snap. "Get out." "Emma." "I said get out, both of you." Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her toward the door. Sarah resisted for a moment, then let herself be led away. But she turned back at the threshold, tears streaming down her face. "He's going to hurt you, Emma. And when he does, don't come crying to me." The door slammed. Emma stood in the sudden silence of her apartment, shaking. She'd known Sarah for 10 years. They'd been through breakups and job losses and family drama. They'd never fought like this, never said things designed to cut deep and draw blood. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Dominic. "Are you free today?" She should say no. Should take time to process everything that just happened. Should probably listen to her friends and walk away before things got more complicated. Instead, she typed, "Yes, where I am. I'll send a car in an hour. I told you I don't need a car. And I heard you, the car is for me. I'm coming to you." Emma looked around her small apartment with new eyes. It was nice enough, one bedroom in Park Slope, exposed brick plans she somehow kept alive, but it wasn't the kind of place someone like Dominic probably spent time. She imagined him in penthouses and private clubs, not cramped apartments with IKEA furniture and student loan debt. She spent the next hour stress cleaning, then felt ridiculous for stress cleaning, then cleaned some more anyway. When the knock came, she checked her reflection one last time and opened the door. Dominic stood in her hallway wearing jeans and a dark sweater, looking somehow more dangerous in casual clothes than he had in a suit. He held a paper bag that smelled like fresh bagels and coffee. "Breakfast," he said. "I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got one of everything." Emma stepped aside to let him in, hyper-aware of how small her space suddenly felt. Dominic filled it without trying, his presence expanding to touch every corner. "Nice place," he said, setting the bag on her kitchen counter. "You don't have to lie." "I'm not. It's you." He gestured at the plants, the books stacked on every available surface, the framed photos of friends and family. "This place feels lived in. Most places I go feel like museums, clean but empty." Emma pulled 2 plates from the cabinet, trying to ignore how intimate this felt. Dominic in her kitchen. Dominic looking at her, life, her choices, the small details that made up who she was. "Why are you here?" she asked. "You said yes." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Dominic pulled out a bagel with lox and cream cheese, handing it to her. "Tell me about your fight with your friends." Emma nearly dropped the bagel. "How did you know about that?" "You have that look, like you're carrying something heavy and trying to pretend it weighs nothing." Emma sat at her small kitchen table, suddenly exhausted. "Sarah thinks I'm making a mistake. She thinks you're going to hurt me." "She's right." The words hit like a physical blow. Emma looked up, searching Dominic's face for some sign he was joking. He wasn't. "I don't mean I want to hurt you," Dominic continued, sitting across from her. "I mean, being with me comes with risks, complications, things that could hurt you even if I'd never laid a hand on you." "Then why pursue this?" "Because I'm selfish." His honesty was brutal. "Because I've spent 20 years being what everyone expected me to be, and then you walked up to me in that bar and looked at me like I was just a man. Not a name, not a reputation, just a man." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "That's not fair." "I know. You're asking me to take all the risk." "I know that too." Emma took a bite of her bagel, chewing slowly while she thought. Everything Sarah said made sense. Everything Marcus warned about was probably true. Dominic himself was telling her this was dangerous. Any rational person would walk away. But Emma was tired of being rational, tired of playing it safe, tired of building a perfect life that felt empty. "Tell me about your family," she said instead. Dominic's expression shifted, guarded. "What do you want to know?" "No, everything. If I'm going to do this, I need to understand what I'm walking into." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. About growing up in Brooklyn, the son of a man who built an empire through equal parts business acumen and brutality. About learning young that love was weakness and trust was currency. About his father's death 5 years ago and the weight of inheriting a kingdom he never asked for. "I have 2 brothers," Dominic said. "Vincent runs the legal side, real estate investments, the things we can do in daylight. Marco handles enforcement, making sure people honor their agreements." "You mean he hurts people?" "Yes." Emma appreciated the directness, even as it made her stomach turn. "And what do you do?" "I keep the peace, make decisions, try to steer us toward legitimacy without getting everyone killed in the process." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." They sat in silence for a while, eating bagels and drinking coffee, while the morning light filtered through Emma's windows. It should have felt awkward, but somehow it didn't. It felt like 2 people trying to figure out if there was a path forward that didn't destroy them both. Emma's phone rang. Rachel's name flashed on the screen. "Don't answer," Dominic said quietly. "I have to. She'll just keep calling." Emma picked up. Rachel's voice was frantic. "Emma, thank God. Sarah just called me crying. She said you guys had a huge fight and you kicked her out and something about Dominic Hale, and I don't understand what's happening." Emma closed her eyes. "It's complicated." "Are you safe? Do you need me to come over?" "I'm fine, Rachel, really." "Sarah says this guy is dangerous." "Sarah says a lot of things." There was a pause. Then Rachel's voice dropped. "He's there right now, isn't he?" Emma looked at Dominic, who was watching her with that steady, assessing gaze. "Yes." Okay, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but Emma, be careful, please." "I will." Emma hung up and set her phone face down on the table. "This is going to be a problem, isn't it? My friend's freaking out every time we see each other." "Probably. You're not very reassuring." "I'm honest, you asked for that." Emma wanted to argue, but he was right. She had asked for honesty. She just hadn't expected it to be this uncomfortable. "I need time," she said finally. "Want to decide if I want to see you again, but to figure out how to do this without losing everyone else in my life." Dominic nodded slowly. "Fair enough. How much time?" I don't know, a few days, a week. Take what you need. He stood gathering the remains of breakfast. But Emma, while you're thinking, remember something, your friends love you. They want to protect you. But they're also making decisions based on fear and rumors. They don't know me. They don't know what I want or who I'm trying to become. And who are you trying to become? Someone worthy of the way you looked at me that first night, like I was worth the risk. Emma walked him to the door, her mind spinning. Dominic paused at the threshold, then leaned down and kissed her forehead. It was gentle, chaste, and somehow more intimate than anything they'd shared at dinner. Call me when you're ready, he said. Then he was gone, and Emma was alone with her thoughts and half-eaten bagels and the growing certainty that she was about to make a choice that would change everything. She spent the rest of the day trying to work. There was an event coming up, a wedding for a tech executive who wanted something classic but modern, traditional, but unexpected. Normally, Emma loved these contradictions. They gave her room to be creative. But today she couldn't focus. Her mind kept drifting back to Dominic's words, Sarah's tears, Rachel's concern. Around 4 p.m., her phone buzzed with a text from a number she didn't recognize. This is Vincent Hale, Dominic's brother. We need to meet. Tonight. Alone. Emma's blood went cold. How did Vincent get her number? Why did he want to meet, and why alone? She called Dominic immediately. He answered on the first ring. Emma, your brother just texted me. There was a pause, then Dominic's voice went hard. What did he say? He wants to meet. Tonight. Alone. Absolutely not. Dominic. I said no, Vincent doesn't do social calls. If he wants to meet you, it's because he's either trying to warn you off or gather information. Either way, it's not safe. Emma felt anger flash through her. I can handle myself. This isn't about handling yourself. This is about family politics and power plays and things you don't understand yet. Then help me understand. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Vincent thinks you're a distraction, something that will make me weak or careless. He's probably planning to either scare you off or figure out how to use you against me. Use me how? Leverage, insurance, bait. Take your pick. Emma sat down hard on her couch. This was real, not just rumors or exaggerations or Sarah's paranoia. This was actual danger, actual consequences. Actual people who saw her as a problem to solve rather than a person with her own agency. I'm coming over, Dominic said, his voice gentler now. We'll figure this out together. No. Emma, I said no. If I'm going to be part of your world, I need to learn how to navigate it. That means meeting with Vincent. It's too dangerous. Everything about you is dangerous, Dominic. I either accept that and learn to handle it, or I walk away now. Which would you prefer? Another long silence. Then Dominic sighed and Emma could hear the exhaustion in it. Where does he want to meet? Emma checked the text. Some restaurant in Manhattan, Il Gatto Pardo. I know it. It's public at least. That's good. Dominic paused. I'll be there. Not at the table, but watching. If anything feels wrong, you walk away. No explanations, no apologies. Just leave. Okay. And Emma, be careful. Vincent is smart and he's calculating and he'll say exactly what he needs to say to get what he wants. Don't trust anything he tells you. Emma ended the call and stared at her phone. She had 3 hours until the meeting. 3 hours to prepare herself for whatever was coming. She chose her outfit carefully. Black pants, white blouse, minimal jewelry. Professional but not trying too hard. She wanted to look like someone who couldn't be intimidated even if inside she was terrified. The restaurant was exactly the kind of place she'd expected. Old money, quiet conversations, waiters who moved like shadows. Vincent Hale was already seated at a corner table and Emma recognized him immediately. He looked like Dominic, but softer somehow. Less intensity, more charm. The kind of man who smiled easily and probably lied just as easily. Ms. Parker, he said, standing as she approached. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? His smile widened. There's always a choice. Please sit. Emma sat, keeping her spine straight and her expression neutral. Vincent ordered wine without asking if she wanted it, just like Dominic had. Apparently, it ran in the family. I'll get straight to the point, Vincent said once the waiter had left. My brother is making a mistake. With me. Yes. Emma had expected this, but hearing it still stung. Why, Because Dominic has responsibilities, a position to maintain, people depending on him. And you're a distraction he can't afford. That's his decision to make, not yours. Vincent's smile didn't waver, but something cold flickered in his eyes. You seem like a smart woman, Emma. Smart enough to understand that some worlds don't mix. Smart enough to know when you're out of your depth. And yet here I am. Here you are. Vincent leaned back in his chair, studying her. Tell me something. What do you want from my brother? The question caught him off guard. I don't want anything. I just want to know him. Everyone wants something. Not everyone is like you. The words came out before Emma could stop them. Vincent's expression flickered surprise, then something that might have been respect. Fair enough, he said. Let me rephrase. What do you think you can give him? Peace, normalcy, a way out of this life? I don't think I can give him anything. I think we can figure out what we want together. Vincent laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. You really believe that, don't you? You think love conquers all, that you can save him from himself, that happy endings exist for people like us. I think happiness is possible if you stop believing it isn't. Vincent's laughter died. He leaned forward, and suddenly Emma saw the steel underneath the charm. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away from my brother. You're going to do it cleanly, quickly, and without drama. In return, I'll make sure no one bothers you. Your business will thrive. Your friends will be safe. Your life will continue exactly as it was before you made the mistake of kissing Dominic Hale. Emma's heart was hammering, but she kept her voice steady. And if I don't, then you'll learn very quickly that there are worse things than being alone. Emma stood. Her legs felt shaky, but she forced them to hold her weight. Thank you for the wine and the threat. Both were exactly what I expected. She turned to leave, but Vincent's voice stopped her. Emma, one more thing. She looked back. Vincent's expression was serious now, all charm stripped away. My brother cares about you. I can see that. And that makes you the most dangerous person in his life. Because caring means weakness. Weakness means vulnerability. And vulnerability gets people killed. If you actually care about him, you'll walk away before someone uses you to destroy him. Emma left without responding. Her hands were shaking as she pushed through the restaurant door and out onto the street. The evening air was cold, shocking her system back to reality. Dominic materialized from the shadows, his face dark with concern. What did he say? He told me to leave you alone, for your own good. He had no right. He's your brother. He's trying to protect you. By threatening you, Emma managed a weak laugh. He was very polite about it. Dominic pulled her into his arms, and Emma let herself lean into him for just a moment. His heart was racing beneath her cheek, and she realized he'd been just as scared as she was. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. I chose to be there. You shouldn't have had to choose. Emma pulled back, looking up at him. Dominic, your brother said something about me making you vulnerable, about people using me against you. Is that true? Dominic's jaw tightened. Yes. Then we have a problem. I know. They stood on the sidewalk while people flowed around them like water around stones. Emma felt the weight of the moment settling on her shoulders. This was the choice. Right here, right now. Walk away and stay safe, or step forward and accept all the chaos that came with it. Take me home, she said finally. To my place. We need to talk. The car ride to Emma's apartment was silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence they'd shared over bagels that morning, but the heavy kind that pressed against her chest and made it hard to breathe. Dominic sat beside her, his jaw clenched, radiating a tension that made Emma's nerves feel like exposed wires. When they reached her building, Emma half expected him to stay in the car. Instead, he followed her up the stairs, his footsteps echoing in the narrow stairwell. Emma fumbled with her keys, acutely aware of how her hands were shaking. Inside, she didn't bother turning on lights. The city glow through her windows provided enough illumination to navigate. Dominic stood in her living room looking like he belonged there and like he'd never fit at the same time. Say what you need to say, he said quietly. Emma turned to face him. I can't do this if you're going to keep me in the dark. Vincent knew exactly what buttons to push because I don't understand the rules. I don't know who your enemies are or what they want or how they operate. I'm walking blind, and that's going to get me hurt. So you want a manual A guidebook to surviving my world. I want honesty, real honesty, not the sanitized version you think I can handle. Dominic moved to her window, staring out at the street below. My father built his empire on fear and respect. When he died, I inherited both. There are families in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan who answer to me. Some of them do it willingly. Some do it because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. Go on. We control shipping routes, construction contracts, waste management. Some legitimate businesses, some that exist in legal gray areas. We also provide protection to businesses that need it and loans to people who can't get them from banks. Protection from what? From us, from other families, from people who'd burn their businesses down for insurance money or force them into worse deals than ours. Emma sat on her couch processing. So you're both the threat and the solution. Yes, that's extortion. It's business. Emma wanted to argue to tell him that wasn't how normal businesses operated, but they'd crossed into territory where normal didn't apply anymore. What else? Dominic turned to face her. There are people who want my position, people who think I'm weak because I'm trying to legitimize our operations. Vincent's worried because he knows the second I show vulnerability, someone will try to take advantage. And I'm the vulnerability. You're someone I care about. In my world, that's the same thing. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. This is insane. We barely know each other, and already your family's threatening me, and you're talking about enemies using me as leverage. I know. Then why are you here? Why pursue this if it's only going to put us both in danger? Dominic crossed the room, kneeling in front of her so they were eye level. Because I've spent 20 years being careful. 20 years making calculated decisions and keeping everyone at arm's length and never letting myself want something just because I wanted it. And then you walked up to me in that bar and kissed me like I was just a man. Not a name, not a weapon, just a man. You said that before, because it's true, because it matters. He took her hands, his grip warm and steady. I'm not asking you to fix me or save me or love the darkness. I'm asking if you'll let me try to be better. With you. For you. Emma searched his face looking for lies or manipulation or any sign that this was just another power play. All she saw was exhaustion and hope, and something that looked dangerously close to desperation. I need rules, she said finally. Boundaries, things I can count on. Name them. You never lie to me, ever, even if the truth is ugly. Done. You don't make decisions about my safety without talking to me first. I'm not a child who needs protecting. I'm a partner who needs information. Dominic hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. And if this gets too dangerous, if people start getting hurt because of us, we stop. We walk away before someone dies. Emma, that's the deal. Take it or leave it. Dominic stood, running a hand through his hair. Emma could see the war happening behind his eyes. Finally, he nodded. Okay, but you have to give me something too. What? Trust. Real trust. When I tell you something's dangerous, you listen. When I say we need to be careful, you don't push back just to prove you can handle it. And if I ever tell you to run, you run. No questions, no hesitation. Can you do that? Emma thought about Vincent's cold eyes, the implicit threats, the way Dominic had materialized from the shadows like he'd been expecting violence. This wasn't a game or an adventure or a story where everything worked out because the heroine was brave enough. This was real danger with real consequences. Yes, she said, I can do that. Dominic pulled her to her feet and kissed her. Not gentle like before, but with an urgency that stole her breath. Emma kissed him back, pouring all her fear and hope and reckless determination into the contact. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Stay, Emma whispered. Tonight, just stay. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. They ended up on her couch, Emma curled against Dominic's chest while he traced absent patterns on her shoulder. They didn't talk about the future or make plans or pretend this was going to be easy. They just existed together in the quiet, stealing a few hours of peace before reality came crashing back. Emma must have dozed off because she woke to sunlight streaming through her windows and her phone buzzing insistently. Dominic was already awake, watching her with those gray eyes that saw too much. Your phone's been going off for 10 minutes, he said. Emma grabbed it, squinting at the screen. 12 missed calls from Rachel, 6 from Sarah, and 1 from a number she didn't recognize with a voicemail. She played the voicemail on speaker, a woman's voice, professional and clipped. Ms. Parker, this is Detective Lisa Chen with the NYPD. I'd like to speak with you regarding your association with Dominic Hale. Please return my call at your earliest convenience. Emma's blood went cold. Dominic's expression didn't change, but she felt his body tense beside her. They're investigating you. They're always investigating me. Usually nothing comes of it. Should I call her back? Not without a lawyer present. Emma stared at her phone, mind racing. This is really happening. Police are calling me. Your brother threatened me. My friends think I've lost my mind, and we've known each other for less than a week. If you want out, tell me now. Emma looked at him. Really looked at him. This complicated, dangerous, surprisingly gentle man who'd somehow crashed into her carefully organized life and turned everything upside down. Every logical part of her brain was screaming to walk away, to call Detective Chen back and tell her everything, to listen to Sarah and Rachel and go back to her safe, predictable existence. But she'd been safe and predictable for 32 years, and where had it gotten her lonely? Restless, going through motions that felt increasingly empty. I don't want out, Emma said. I want coffee and a plan for dealing with the police and probably a lawyer's number. Dominic's smile was small but genuine. I can arrange all three. They were drinking coffee and strategizing when someone pounded on Emma's door. Not a knock, a pounding that made the frame shake. NYPD, open up. Dominic was on his feet instantly, his entire demeanor shifting into something harder, more controlled. Don't say anything without a lawyer. Nothing, not even your name if you can avoid it. Emma opened the door to find Detective Chen and two uniformed officers. Chen was a small woman with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything and been impressed by none of it. Miss Parker, may we come in? Do you have a warrant? Chen's eyebrows lifted. No, but we can get one if necessary. Then I'd prefer we do this at the station, with my lawyer present. Emma had no idea where that came from. She'd never dealt with police before, never needed a lawyer, never thought she'd be the kind of person who said things like, with my lawyer present. But she'd made Dominic a promise, trust, and that meant trusting he knew what he was talking about. Chen's gaze shifted past Emma to where Dominic stood. Mr. Hale, fancy meeting you here. Detective, you two want to tell me what's going on. My client has nothing to say without counsel, Dominic said calmly. Your client, that's an interesting choice of words. My friend then, either way she's not answering questions. Chen studied them both and Emma felt like she was being x-rayed. Finally, the detective handed Emma a card. When you're ready to talk, call me before this gets messier than it needs to be. They left. Emma closed the door and leaned against it, her heart hammering. What just happened? They're trying to pressure you into giving them information about me. It won't work, but they'll keep trying. Why me? Why not go after your brothers or your business partners or anyone else? Because you're new, unconnected. They think you don't know how to handle pressure and you'll crack. Emma felt anger flash through her. So I'm the weak link. You're the unknown variable. That's different. Emma's phone rang again. Rachel's name. This time Emma answered. Emma, thank God, I just heard police were asking about you. What's going on? How did you hear that? My neighbor's cousin is married to a cop. Word travels fast. Emma, please tell me you're not in trouble. Emma closed her eyes. I'm fine, Rachel, really. You're lying. I can hear it in your voice. Where are you? I'm coming over. No, don't. I just need some time to figure things out. Figure what out? How deep you're going to dig this hole before you can't climb out. The words stung because they were probably true. Emma was digging herself deeper with every choice, every moment she stayed close to Dominic instead of running. I have to go, Emma said. Emma, wait. She hung up and immediately felt guilty. Rachel was worried. Sarah was scared. The police were investigating. Dominic's family was circling. And Emma was standing in the middle of it all, trying to convince herself she knew what she was doing. I need to call my parents, she said quietly, before they hear about this from someone else. Dominic nodded. Do you want privacy? No, stay. Emma dialed her mother's number with shaking hands. Her mother answered on the second ring, voice bright and cheerful. Emma, honey, I was just thinking about you. Mom, I need to tell you something. The brightness died. What happened? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine, but the police might contact you, asking about me, about someone I'm seeing. Silence, then her mother's voice cold and sharp. What did you do? I didn't do anything. It's complicated. Complicated how Emma Louise Parker, you tell me right now what's going on. Emma took a breath. I'm seeing someone. Someone who has a complicated past and connections to people the police don't like. They're trying to use me to get information about him. Then stop seeing him. Mom, stop seeing him right now. Whatever you think you have with this man isn't worth ruining your life. Emma felt tears building. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You think you're special. You think you can handle things other people can't. You think love or attraction or whatever this is makes you immune to consequences. But it doesn't, Emma. It just makes you vulnerable. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. If you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't be getting calls from detectives. Her mother's voice cracked. Please, baby, walk away before it's too late. Emma ended the call, unable to hear more. Tears were streaming down her face now, and she didn't bother wiping them away. Dominic pulled her into his arms, letting her cry against his chest. She's right, Emma said through tears. Everyone's right. I should walk away. Then walk. Emma pulled back, staring at him. You're not going to fight for me. I'll fight the entire world for you if you ask me to, but I won't fight you. If you want to leave, leave. I'll make sure you're safe, make sure no one bothers you, and I'll disappear from your life like I was never there. You make it sound so easy. It would be the hardest thing I've ever done, but I'd do it for you. Emma felt something crack inside her chest. How was she supposed to walk away from someone who'd let her go if it meant keeping her safe? How was she supposed to choose safety over this strange, terrifying, exhilarating feeling of being truly seen by another person? I'm not leaving, she said finally. I'm angry and scared and pretty sure I've lost my mind, but I'm not leaving. Dominic kissed her forehead. Then we face this together. They spent the rest of the day making plans. Dominic called a lawyer, a sharp woman named Catherine, who specialized in cases involving organized crime. Catherine arrived at Emma's apartment 2 hours later, all business and no judgment. Here's the situation, Catherine said, spreading files across Emma's coffee table. The police have been investigating the Hale family for years. They've never found enough to make charges stick, but they keep trying. You're their latest angle. What do they want from me? Information, testimony, anything they can use to build a case. They'll probably offer you immunity in exchange for cooperation. Emma felt sick. I can't testify against Dominic. You don't have to testify against anyone. You have the right to remain silent. Use it. Won't that make me look guilty? It'll make you look smart. Innocent people who talk to police without lawyers often end up saying things that get twisted into evidence. Stay quiet, stay protected, and let them waste their time looking for leverage they won't find. Catherine left them with instructions and business cards and a warning to expect more pressure in the coming days. Emma collapsed on her couch, exhausted, despite having done nothing but talk and worry. How do you live like this? She asked Dominic. Constantly looking over your shoulder, constantly preparing for the next attack. You get used to it. That's depressing. It's reality. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. I'm sorry about yesterday. Can we talk? Please. Emma showed the message to Dominic. Should I respond? Do you want to? I don't know. Part of me wants to tell her everything's fine and nothing's changed. But everything has changed. I've changed. Then tell her that. Emma typed slowly. I'm okay. Things are complicated, but I'm handling it. I need some space to figure this out. I hope you can understand. Sarah's response came immediately. I do understand. I'm scared for you, but I trust you. Call me when you're ready. I love you. Emma felt tears threaten again. Why does doing what I want feel like hurting everyone I care about? Because change always costs something. The question is whether what you gain is worth what you lose. Emma looked at Dominic, this man who'd turned her life upside down in less than a week, who'd brought danger in police investigations and family threats, but also honesty and intensity and the feeling of being truly alive for the first time in years. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I want to find out. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept replaying conversations, analyzing choices, wondering if she was brave or just stupid. Around 2 a.m., she gave up and went to her kitchen for water. Dominic was already there staring out the window. Can't sleep either, Emma asked. I sleep light. Old habit. Emma moved to stand beside him. What are you thinking about? How to keep you safe. How to navigate my family's concerns without losing you. How to be the man you see when you look at me instead of the man everyone else knows. You're already that man. I'm trying to be. It's harder than I expected. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights blur through Emma's window. Emma thought about Vincent's threats, Detective Chen's questions, her mother's fear, Sarah's worry, thought about how much easier it would be to walk away. But she also thought about Dominic's honesty, his restraint, the way he'd offered to disappear from her life if that's what she needed. Thought about how safety often meant stagnation and how sometimes the scariest choices led to the most meaningful transformations. I'm all in, Emma said quietly. Whatever happens next, I'm all in. Dominic took her hand, lacing their fingers together. Then we'll figure it out. Together. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Didn't know if they'd survive the pressure from his family, the police investigation, the judgment from her friends. Didn't know if this was love or madness or some dangerous combination of both. But for the first time in years, Emma felt fully alive, present, connected to something bigger than her careful plans and calculated risks. And that she decided was worth fighting for. Morning came too quickly. Emma woke to find Dominic already dressed, talking quietly on his phone by her window. His voice was different when he spoke to whoever was on the other end. Harder, colder, the voice of someone who gave orders and expected them to be followed without question. He ended the call and turned to find her watching. The hardness melted slightly, but didn't disappear completely. I have to go, he said. Family meeting. Vincent's been pushing for it since he found out about us. Emma sat up, pushing hair out of her face. This afternoon, at my father's old estate in Staten Island. Should I be worried? Yes. Emma appreciated the honesty, even as it sent fear racing through her veins. What are they going to say? That I'm distracted, that you're a liability, that I need to either bring you fully into the family or cut you loose before someone gets hurt. Dominic crossed to sit beside her on the bed. I'm going to tell them the truth, that I'm stepping back from daily operations, that Vincent will handle enforcement and Marco will oversee collections, that I'm focusing on legitimate businesses. Because of me. Because of a lot of things. You're just the catalyst. Emma took his hand, feeling the calluses on his palm. They're going to blame me anyway. Probably, and if they decide I'm too much of a problem, Dominic's grip tightened. Then they'll have to go through me first. He left 20 minutes later with promises to call her as soon as the meeting ended. Emma tried to work responding to emails from clients and finalizing details for next week's corporate retreat, but her mind kept drifting to Dominic, to his family, to what might be happening in that meeting right now. Around noon, her phone rang. Not Dominic, Rachel. Don't hang up, Rachel said immediately. Please. I'm not going to hang up. Good. Because I need to see you. Like right now, there's something you need to know. Emma felt her stomach drop. What happened? Not over the phone. I'm outside your building. Let me up. Emma buzzed her in heart pounding. Rachel appeared 2 minutes later, looking disheveled and frightened. She pushed past Emma into the apartment, pacing like a caged animal. Rachel, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. Rachel spun to face her. Sarah's boyfriend, Marcus, he's been feeding information to the police. Emma felt the floor tilt. What? About you, about Dominic, about everywhere you've been and everyone you've seen. Detective Chen, she already knew about your dinner, your meeting with Vincent, everything. Because Marcus has been telling her. Why would he do that? Rachel's laugh was bitter. Because he's terrified. Apparently he owes money to some loan shark who's connected to a rival family. He thought if he gave the police information about the Hales, they'd protect him. But all he's done is put you in the crosshairs. Emma sat down hard on her couch. Does Sarah know? She found out yesterday. That's why she's been trying to call you. She wanted to warn you herself, but Marcus made her promise to stay quiet. She finally told me this morning because she's afraid he's going to do something worse. Worse than betraying me to the police. Worse than that. Rachel sat beside Emma, taking her hands. Marcus thinks if he can get evidence that Dominic is involved in criminal activity, the police will give him witness protection. And he thinks the easiest way to get that evidence is through you. Emma's mind was racing. He wants me to wear a wire, or plant bugs in Dominic's apartment, or testify about conversations you've overheard. Emma Marcus is desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. You need to tell Dominic. Emma was already reaching for her phone when it rang. Dominic's name flashed on the screen. Emma, his voice was tight. We have a problem. I know. Rachel just told me about Marcus. There was a pause. That's not what I'm calling about. The meeting with my family went badly. Vincent convinced them you're too much of a risk. They've given me an ultimatum. Emma's blood went cold. What kind of ultimatum? Bring you fully into the family, which means you'd be under our protection, but also under our control. Or walk away from you completely and prove my loyalty by handling a problem family that's been encroaching on our territory. Handling them how? The way these things are usually handled. Emma understood. Violence, possibly murder. The kind of thing that would cement Dominic's position, but also destroy any chance of him stepping away from that life. There's a third option, Emma said quietly. What? We run, both of us. Leave New York, start over somewhere else. Walk away from all of this. Dominic was quiet for so long, Emma thought the connection had dropped. Finally, he spoke. If I run, my family will see it as betrayal. They'll come after us. Not right away, but eventually. And they won't stop until they find us or we're both dead. So what do we do? I don't know. Emma had never heard Dominic sound lost before. He always had answers, always knew the next move. Hearing uncertainty in his voice was more terrifying than any threat. Come back here, Emma said. We'll figure it out together. I'm already on my way. Emma ended the call and looked at Rachel, who'd been listening with wide eyes. You need to leave. If Dominic's family is watching him, they might be watching me too. I don't want you caught in the middle of this. Emma, you can't seriously be staying, not after everything I just told you. Where else would I go? Home, your parents' house. Literally anywhere that isn't here, waiting for a mob boss who's being forced to choose between you and his entire life. Emma stood moving to her window. The street below looked normal. People walking dogs, grabbing coffee, living their ordinary lives. She'd been one of those people a week ago. Now she was trapped in something she barely understood, making choices that seemed insane from the outside. I love him, Emma said, surprising herself with the words. Rachel's voice was gentle. You barely know him. I know enough. I know he's honest when he could lie. I know he's trying to be better than what he was raised to be. I know he looks at me like I'm the best thing that's ever happened to him and the worst mistake he's ever made, all at the same time. Love isn't enough, Emma. Not for this. Maybe not, but it's what I have, so it'll have to be. Rachel left with tears in her eyes and promises to check in later. Emma was alone for maybe 10 minutes before Dominic arrived, looking like he'd aged 5 years since morning. He pulled her into his arms without speaking, just held her like she was the only solid thing in a world gone liquid. I can't choose, he said finally. I can't choose between you and my family. I can't choose between the man I want to be and the man they need me to be. I can't make this decision. Then don't. Dominic pulled back, searching her face. What? Don't choose. We find a fourth option. Something no one's expecting. There is no fourth option. There's always another option. We just have to be smart enough to see it. Emma's mind was working frantically, sorting through everything she knew about Dominic's situation, his family's concerns, the police investigation. There had to be a solution that didn't involve violence or separation or running for the rest of their lives. What if you give them what they want? Emma said slowly. I'm not giving you to them like some kind of sacrifice. Not me, control. They're afraid you're weak, right? Afraid you're losing focus. What if you prove you're not? How much you handle the problem of family. Show Vincent and Marco you're still committed. But do it your way, not with violence, with strategy. Dominic shook his head. They won't accept that. They want blood. They want results. Give them results that are better than blood. Emma could see the wheels turning in Dominic's mind. What are you thinking? I'm thinking you said these families are fighting over territory. What if instead of taking them out, you make them an offer they can't refuse, partnership instead of warfare? Combine operations, split profits, present a united front that makes everyone more money with less risk. That's never been done before. Maybe it should be. Dominic paced her small living room, tension radiating from every line of his body. It could work. If I can convince them it's in their best interest. If I can show my family that cooperation is more profitable than conflict. And if you can't, then I'm back where I started, making an impossible choice. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You have 24 hours to decide. Cooperate with our investigation, or we start digging into your finances. Your business, everyone you've ever known. This is your only warning. Detective Chen. Emma showed the message to Dominic, his jaw clenched. They're putting pressure on both of us at the same time. That's not coincidence. Marcus, probably. If he's desperate enough to betray you to the police, he's desperate enough to give them ammunition. Dominic took Emma's phone, typing rapidly. When he handed it back, Emma saw his response. My client has nothing to say. All future communication goes through her attorney, Catherine Morrison. Any attempt to contact Ms. Parker directly will be considered harassment. Will that work? It'll buy us time, not much but some. They spent the next hour making plans. Dominic would approach the rival family with Emma's idea, framing it as an evolution rather than weakness. Emma would meet with Catherine to prepare for potential legal action from the police. They'd regroup that evening and decide next steps based on what happened. It felt like building a house of cards in a hurricane. One wrong move and everything would collapse. But it was something. Action instead of paralysis. Hope instead of resignation. Dominic was about to leave when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. It's Marco. He answered on speaker. Marco's voice was rough, urgent. Dom, we have a situation. Someone just tried to hit one of our collection sites. Professionals, they knew exactly when and where to strike. Casualties. 2 of ours injured, 3 of theirs dead. But Dom, that's not the worst part. One of them had a wire. The whole thing was recorded. Emma felt ice flood her veins. Dominic's face went blank, that mask of control slamming into place. Where's the recording now? We have it, but if there was one wire, there might be more. Someone's trying to build a case and they're willing to get people killed to do it. Marcus, Emma whispered. Dominic's eyes met hers and she saw fury there. Cold, controlled, terrifying fury. I'll call you back. He ended the call and stood very still for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. This just became personal. What are you going to do? What I have to? Emma grabbed his arm. Dominic, no, don't do something you'll regret. I won't regret protecting what's mine. I'm not yours to protect. I'm yours to partner with. There's a difference. That seemed to break through the rage. Dominic took a shaky breath, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. You're right. I'm just angry, scared, feeling out of control. I get it, but we handle this smart, not violent. We stick to the plan. The plan just changed. Marcus isn't just feeding information to the police anymore. He's actively trying to get my people killed. Emma's phone rang. Sarah's name. Emma almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Emma, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop him. I tried to make him see reason, but he won't listen, and I don't know what to do. Where are you? Home. Marcus left an hour ago. He said he had to finish something. Emma, I think he's going to try to hurt Dominic. Emma's heart stopped. What do you mean hurt him? He's been talking to people. Bad people. People who hate the Hale family. He thinks if Dominic's out of the picture, the police will protect him and everything will be fine. But Emma, these people he's talking to, they don't just hurt one person. They hurt everyone connected to them. Emma looked at Dominic, seeing her own fear reflected in his eyes. Shra, I need you to tell me exactly who Marcus has been talking to. I don't know names, but I heard him on the phone. He kept saying Staten Island. Something about a meeting today. Emma, if Dominic's family is in Staten Island... Emma didn't hear the rest. Dominic was already grabbing his keys, his phone barking orders to someone on the other end. Emma ran after him. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You said we're partners. Partners don't let partners walk into danger alone. Emma, if what Sarah's saying is true, I'm driving into a war zone. I can't protect you and handle this at the same time. Then don't protect me. Trust me to protect myself. They stared at each other for one long moment. Then Dominic grabbed her hand. Stay close. Do exactly what I say. If I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. No arguments. They took Dominic's car, a black SUV that handled like a tank and probably had armor plating to match. Dominic drove with controlled precision, weaving through traffic while making call after call. Warning Vincent, alerting Marco, pulling in every resource he had. Emma tried calling Sarah back but got voicemail. Tried Rachel with the same result. The silence was somehow worse than bad news. They were crossing into Staten Island when Dominic's phone rang again. Vincent's name. Dominic answered on speaker. Dom, where are you? 10 minutes out. What's the situation? We've got 6 cars approaching the estate, armed. This isn't a small operation, Dom. Someone planned this. I know, Marcus Chen. He's Sarah's boyfriend. He's been working with the police and apparently decided to take matters into his own hands. Vincent swore. The police are going to use this. Whatever happens here, they're going to spin it as gang warfare and come after all of us. Let them try. First priority is keeping our family safe. Dom, you need to know something. Dad's lawyer just called. Apparently there's a clause in Dad's will. If you're deemed unfit to lead control passes to me and Marco jointly, someone's trying to force that clause into effect. Emma watched Dominic's knuckles go white on the steering wheel. You think I'm unfit to lead? I think you're distracted. I think you're trying to be something you're not. But no, I don't think you're unfit. You're still the best leader this family has. It was the closest thing to support Vincent had ever offered. Emma saw something shift in Dominic's expression. Gratitude. Relief. The knowledge that whatever else happened, his brother had his back. They pulled up to the estate as the first shots rang out. Dominic shoved Emma down in her seat, his body covering hers as glass exploded around them. Emma heard shouting, more gunfire, the sound of cars screeching and metal crunching. Stay down, Dominic ordered, reaching for something under his seat. A gun. Emma had known intellectually that Dominic probably carried weapons, but seeing one in his hand made everything terrifyingly real. I need you to listen very carefully, Dominic said, his voice calm despite the chaos outside. When I open this door, you're going to run to that building on the left. The one with the red door. Vincent will be inside. You tell him I sent you and you don't leave that room until I come get you. Understand? What are you going to do? End this, Dominic. He kissed her, hard and fast and desperate. I love you. I should have said it sooner. I should have said it before any of this started. But I love you and I need you to be safe so I can have a chance to say it again. Then he was gone out of the car and moving with a speed and grace that spoke of training Emma hadn't known about. She watched him disappear into the chaos, then forced herself to move. Run to the building, find Vincent, stay alive. She made it to the red door as more gunfire erupted behind her, pounded on it until someone yanked it open. Vincent stood there, gun in hand, looking shocked to see her. Dominic sent me, Emma gasped. Vincent pulled her inside, slamming and bolting the door. What the hell is he thinking bringing you here? He didn't have a choice. The room was full of men Emma didn't recognize, all armed, all looking tense. Marco was there too, talking rapidly into a phone. He looked up when he saw Emma, his expression unreadable. The girl, Dominic's girl, Vincent confirmed. She the reason all this started. No, Emma said before Vincent could answer. Marcus Chen is the reason. He's the one who brought the police in. He's the one who set up this attack. I'm just the excuse everyone's been looking for. Marco studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Fair enough. They waited in tense silence, listening to the sounds of violence outside. Emma wanted to scream, to run back out there, to do something other than hide while Dominic fought for his life. But she'd promised to trust him, promised to do what he said. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, the gunfire stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. Vincent's phone rang. He listened, his face expressionless, then ended the call. It's over. We have Marcus. 2 of his hired guns are dead. The rest fled. 3 of ours injured, none critical. And Dominic, Emma's voice came out as barely a whisper. He's fine. He wants you to stay here until the police clear out. The police are here. Someone called it in, probably Marcus's backup plan. If he couldn't kill Dominic, he'd make sure the police showed up to the aftermath. Emma sank into a chair, the adrenaline finally draining and leaving her shaky. She'd known dating Dominic would be complicated. She just hadn't understood what complicated actually meant until bullets were flying and she was hiding in a room full of armed men, while the person she loved fought for survival outside. Vincent brought her water. For what it's worth, I was wrong about you. How so? I thought you'd run at the first sign of trouble. Most people would, but you're still here. I promised him I would be. Promises are easy to make, harder to keep when keeping them might get you killed. Emma met Vincent's eyes. He's worth it. Vincent almost smiled. Yeah, he is. The door burst open an hour later. Emma jumped to her feet, heart in her throat, but it was Dominic. Alive. Whole. Blood on his shirt that she hoped wasn't his. She ran to him without thinking, and he caught her holding her so tight she could barely breathe. His heart was hammering against her cheek, and she realized he'd been just as terrified as she was. You're okay, he said into her hair. Thank God you're okay. I'm okay. You're the one who was out there getting shot at. Dominic pulled back enough to look at her face, checking for injuries she didn't have. The police are processing the scene. Detective Chen is demanding to speak with me. Catherine's on her way, but it's going to be a circus. What about Marcus? Dominic's expression went cold. He's alive. For now. Vincent has him in the basement. Emma felt sick. What are you going to do to him? What do you want me to do? The question caught her off guard. Dominic was giving her a choice. A say in what happened to the man who'd betrayed her, endangered her, tried to kill the man she loved. I want him to face consequences, Emma said slowly. Real consequences. But not death. Not because he deserves mercy, but because you deserve to not have that on your conscience. Something shifted in Dominic's face. Relief maybe, or gratitude. You're sure? I'm sure. Turn him over to the police. Let him explain to Detective Chen why he organized an armed assault on private property. Let him rot in prison instead of dying fast. Vincent had been listening from across the room. That's bold. Most people would want blood. I'm not most people. No, Vincent agreed, something like respect in his voice. You're really not. Detective Chen arrived 20 minutes later with a small army of uniforms and investigators. She took one look at Emma and her expression hardened. Ms. Parker, I should have known you'd be here. I was invited. To a shootout. To a family meeting that someone else turned into a shootout. Catherine arrived in time to hear the exchange. She stepped between Emma and the detective with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. My client has nothing to say without counsel present. If you'd like to question her, we can schedule an interview at your office with proper notice and a clear agenda. Detective Chen's jaw clenched. 3 people are dead, Ms. Morrison. This isn't a game. I'm aware, which is why Ms. Parker will be exercising her constitutional rights. Emma watched the 2 women face off, lawyer and detective, both fighting for different versions of justice. Finally, Chen stepped back. Fine, but Ms. Parker, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. The detective moved on to Dominic, who gave her the same stone wall of silence. Emma saw Chen's frustration building with each non-answer, each referral to his attorney, each polite refusal to cooperate. Then one of the uniformed officers brought Marcus out of the basement. Sarah's boyfriend looked like he'd aged 10 years. His face was bruised, his hands were shaking, and when he saw Emma, his expression crumbled into something that might have been remorse or might have just been fear of consequences. Emma, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I just needed them to leave me alone, and I thought if I could give the police something big enough. You thought getting people killed would solve your problems. Emma's voice was cold, colder than she'd known she could sound. You used me. You betrayed Sarah. You tried to murder Dominic and his entire family. What exactly were you sorry for until you got caught? Marcus looked at Detective Chen desperately. I'm cooperating. I told you everything. You said you'd protect me. Chen's expression was unreadable. I said we'd consider protection in exchange for testimony. Organizing an armed assault on civilians wasn't part of our agreement, Marcus. You're on your own. Emma watched Marcus's face as he realized the police weren't going to save him. That he destroyed his relationship, betrayed his girlfriend's best friend, and gotten people killed, all for nothing. Sarah deserves better than you, Emma said quietly. She deserves better than someone who'd sacrifice the people she loves to save himself. They took Marcus away in handcuffs. Emma felt nothing watching him go. No satisfaction, no anger, just exhaustion. The police cleared out, eventually taking statements and evidence and leaving behind crime scene tape and questions that would probably never be fully answered. Vincent and Marco disappeared to handle cleanup, both giving Emma nods of acknowledgement as they left. Dominic drove Emma back to her apartment in silence. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of gold and red that felt too beautiful for the day they'd had. "I need to make some calls," Dominic said when they reached her building. "Family business. Give me an hour." Emma nodded, too tired to argue. She went upstairs, showered, and was sitting on her couch in clean clothes when someone knocked. Not Dominic. Sarah. Emma opened the door to find her friend crying, mascara streaking her face, looking like her entire world had collapsed. "I didn't know," Sarah said immediately. "I swear to God, Emma, I didn't know he was planning that. I knew he was scared and desperate, but I never thought he'd try to kill people." Emma pulled Sarah inside and let her friend cry on her shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just existing in the wreckage of what Marcus had done. "I called off the engagement," Sarah said finally. "Obviously, I can't be with someone who'd do what he did, but Emma, I'm so sorry for the dare, for introducing you to this mess, for not seeing what Marcus was becoming. The dare wasn't your fault." "Yes, it was. I knew who Dominic was. Marcus told me. I thought it would be funny watching you kiss someone dangerous. I thought you'd chicken out, or he'd reject you, and we'd all laugh about it later. I never imagined," Sarah's voice broke. "I never imagined you'd fall for each other. I never imagined any of this." Emma felt something click into place. The edge in Sarah's voice that first night, the way she'd pushed so hard for Emma to walk away. She'd known all along and had been trying to undo her mistake without admitting she'd made one. "You were trying to protect me. I was trying to fix what I broke, but I just made it worse." Emma hugged Sarah tighter. "You didn't break anything. You gave me a push I didn't know I needed. Everything that happened after was my choice. Some choice, police investigations and shootouts and almost dying, but also love and honesty and feeling alive for the first time in years." Sarah pulled back, searching Emma's face. "You really love him." "I really do. Even after everything, especially after everything, he could have lied to me at any point, could have hidden who he was or what his life involved. But he didn't. He gave me truth and choice and trusted me to be strong enough to handle it." Sarah wiped her eyes. "You're braver than I ever gave you credit for." "No, I'm just tired of being safe." Dominic returned an hour later as promised, looking worn but determined. Sarah left after extracting promises that Emma would call her tomorrow. Then it was just the two of them in Emma's small apartment, the city lights filtering through her windows. "My family met while I was gone," Dominic said. "They voted." Emma's heart stopped. And they agreed to let me step back from enforcement operations. Vincent takes over daily management. Marco handles security. I focus on legitimate businesses and long-term strategy." "That's good. That's what you wanted. There's a condition." Emma waited, knowing whatever came next would be complicated. "They want to meet you, properly. Not as the girl I'm dating, but as the woman who's going to be part of this family." Emma felt the weight of those words. They're accepting me. They're accepting that I'm not giving you up, that you're here to stay, whether they like it or not. "Vincent vouched for you after today, said you kept your head when most people would have panicked. That counts for something with them." Emma thought about Vincent's words earlier, about promises being easy to make but hard to keep, about her still being here when she could have run. "When do they want to meet?" "Sunday dinner. At the estate. Everyone will be there." "That's in 2 days." "I know. If it's too soon..." "It's not too soon." Emma stood, moving to stand in front of Dominic. "I'm ready. Whatever comes next, I'm ready." Dominic pulled her close, and they stood like that for a long moment. Two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, survived things that should have torn them apart, and somehow come out stronger on the other side. "I meant what I said earlier," Dominic said quietly. "I love you. I know it's fast and crazy, and probably too soon to say it, but I do. I love you too. Have since that first night when you told me I should never let people push me into something I don't truly choose. You saw me, Dominic, really saw me. Not the version I showed the world, but the person underneath. That person is extraordinary." Emma laughed, the sound slightly wet with unshed tears. "That person is terrified and exhausted and pretty sure she's lost her mind. That person is brave and strong and exactly who I need. They spent that night and the next day preparing. Catherine helped Emma understand what being part of the Hale family would mean legally. The protections, yes, but also the scrutiny. The connections, but also the danger. Detective Chen was still building her case, still trying to find leverage, still convinced she could bring down the Hale empire if she pushed hard enough. She won't stop, Catherine warned. Not until she has what she wants or until someone makes her stop. How do we make her stop? Give her something bigger. Someone she wants more than Dominic. Emma thought about that. About Marcus, about the rival families, about all the people who'd been circling the Hales looking for weakness. What if we help her? Emma said slowly. Catherine's eyebrows rose. Explain. Dominic's trying to go legitimate. What if he offers to cooperate on taking down the families who aren't feed information on rivals in exchange for immunity on past crimes? Clean slate fresh, start, everyone wins. Except the families you'd be betraying. Except the families who just tried to kill us. Catherine considered. It could work. It would take careful negotiation, ironclad agreements, and probably witness protection for some key people. But it could work. Emma brought the idea to Dominic that evening. He listened without interrupting, his expression thoughtful. You're talking about burning bridges I've spent my whole life building. I'm talking about building new bridges that won't collapse when you try to cross them. My family won't like it. Your family agreed to let you step back. This is how you do it. Cleanly, permanently, without looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life. Dominic was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Vincent, I need to run something past you. They talked for 20 minutes, Dominic outlining Emma's idea while his brother listened. Emma couldn't hear Vincent's responses, but she watched Dominic's face carefully. Saw the moment Vincent agreed. Saw the weight lift slightly from Dominic's shoulders. He's in, Dominic said, ending the call. Marco, too, once Vincent explained it. They're tired, Emma. Tired of the violence and the constant threats and watching their backs every second. If there's a way out that doesn't end with prison or death, they'll take it. Sunday dinner arrived faster than Emma was ready for. She changed outfits 3 times before settling on simple black pants and a cream sweater. Professional but not trying too hard. Dominic assured her she looked perfect, but Emma could see the tension in his shoulders. The estate looked different in daylight without bullets flying. Elegant, old money. The kind of place that had seen generations of family dinners and probably just as many family wars. Vincent met them at the door. Everyone's here, aunts, uncles, cousins. Fair warning, they're going to ask invasive questions and judge everything about you. Sounds like Thanksgiving with my family. Vincent's laugh was surprised and genuine. I like her, Dom. She's got spine. Marco was in the dining room with a woman who looked like a younger female version of him. My sister Elena, he introduced. She wanted to meet the woman crazy enough to date our brother. Elena studied Emma with sharp eyes. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone softer, easier to push around, someone who'd fold at the first sign of pressure. Sorry to disappoint, Elena smiled. Don't be. We've had enough soft people in this family. It's time for someone with steel. The dinner was exactly as overwhelming as Emma had feared. Too many people asking too many questions, all of them watching her reactions, judging her answers, trying to figure out if she was worthy of Dominic or just another liability. But Emma had survived police interrogations and shootouts and meetings with Vincent. She could handle nosy relatives. Halfway through the meal, Dominic stood and tapped his glass. The room fell silent. I have an announcement, he said. Emma and I are moving forward. Together. She's not just someone I'm dating, she's my partner, my future, and I need everyone here to understand that she's under family protection now. Vincent stood. I second that. Emma's proven herself. She's one of us now. Marco stood too. Then Elena. One by one, the entire family rose in a show of support that made Emma's throat tight with emotion. Thank you, she managed. All of you. I know I'm an outsider. I know I don't understand all the rules yet, but I promise I'll learn. And I promise I'll do everything I can to be worthy of the trust you're placing in me. An elderly woman at the end of the table, someone Emma hadn't been introduced to, spoke up. You love him. That's all that matters. Everything else can be taught. After dinner, Dominic took Emma to his father's old office. It was exactly what she'd imagined. Dark wood leather furniture walls lined with books that looked read rather than decorative. This is where every major family decision was made, Dominic said, where my father planned his empire and made choices that affected hundreds of lives. It feels heavy. It is heavy. It's the weight of responsibility and legacy and expectation. Dominic turned to face her. I don't want that weight anymore. I want something lighter, simpler, real. What are you saying? Dominic reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Emma's heart stopped. I'm saying I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend months dating properly or years making sure we're compatible. I know what I want. I've known since you looked at me in that bar and saw a man instead of a monster. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Marry me, Dominic said. Not because it makes sense or because my family expects it. Marry me because I love you and you love me, and life's too short to waste time being careful. Emma felt tears streaming down her face. This is insane. We barely know each other. I know everything that matters. I know you're brave and honest and strong. I know you chose me when everyone told you not to. I know you make me want to be better than I've ever been. Your family will think it's too fast. My family can deal with it. Emma looked at the ring, then at Dominic's face, saw hope and fear and love all mixed together, thought about every reason this was a terrible idea and every reason it was the best decision she'd ever make. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. Dominic slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, and Emma felt something click into place, like a puzzle piece finding its spot, like coming home after being lost for years. They told the family before they left. Vincent looked shocked, then pleased. Marco clapped Dominic on the back. Elena hugged Emma and whispered, "Welcome to the family. For real this time." The elderly woman who'd spoken up at dinner pulled Emma aside. "My name is Sophia. I was married to Dominic's grandfather. I know something about loving dangerous men." Any advice? Never lose yourself. Love him, support him, stand by him, but never become so much his that you forget who you were before. That's when you lose power. That's when you become a weakness instead of a strength. Emma squeezed Sophia's hand. "Thank you." And Emma, you did good tonight. You held your ground without being aggressive. You showed respect without being submissive. That's a hard balance, but you found it. This family will respect you for that. Detective Chen called the next morning. Dominic put her on speaker so Emma could hear. "Mr. Hale, I've received a very interesting proposal from your attorney. You want to cooperate in exchange for immunity." "That's correct." "Why now? What changed?" Dominic looked at Emma. "I'm getting married, starting a family. I want my kids to know their father is a businessman, not a criminal. If cooperating gets me, that I'll give you everything you need." There was a long pause. "Who are you and what did you do with Dominic Hale?" "I fell in love with someone who makes me want to be better. Turns out that's enough to change everything." Chen was quiet for a moment. "I'll need to speak with my superiors. But Mr. Hale, if you're serious about this, if you're really willing to cooperate fully, we can make this work." "I'm serious." "Then we have a deal. Pending final approval, but we have a deal." They ended the call and Dominic pulled Emma into his arms. "You did this. You gave me a way out I didn't think existed. We did this together." Emma called her mother that afternoon, braced herself for the reaction. "You're marrying him, Emma Louise Parker. Have you completely lost your mind?" "Probably, but Mom, I'm happy. Really genuinely happy for the first time in years." Her mother was quiet. Then, "Are you safe? That's all I need to know. Whatever else is happening, are you safe?" "I'm safe. I'm protected. And I'm loved." "Then I guess that's all a mother can ask for. But Emma, if he ever hurts you, if this ever becomes something you can't handle, you come home. No questions, no judgment. Just come home." "I will, I promise." Rachel and Sarah threw Emma an impromptu engagement party at her apartment. It was small and chaotic and perfect. Sarah cried through most of it, apologizing repeatedly for everything that had happened. "I'm done apologizing," Emma told her firmly. "What's done is done. We move forward from here." "But I ruined everything." "You gave me everything. That dare changed my life. I'm not going to regret it just because the path was rocky." Rachel raised her glass. "To Emma, the bravest person I know. May your marriage be slightly less dramatic than your courtship. I'll drink to that, Emma laughed. The wedding happened fast. Neither of them wanted a big ceremony or months of planning. They got married at City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon with Vincent and Elena as witnesses. Emma wore a simple white dress. Dominic wore a suit. Catherine officiated because she was ordained online specifically for this purpose. Do you, Dominic Hale, take Emma Parker to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you, Emma Parker, take Dominic Hale to be your lawfully wedded husband, knowing full well what that entails? Emma laughed. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the internet, I now pronounce you married. Kiss each other before I change my mind about this whole thing. Dominic kissed Emma, and she kissed him back, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the police investigation that would take months to resolve. Not the family politics they'd still have to navigate. Not the danger that would probably always exist at the edges of their lives. They had each other. They had truth and choice and love built on honesty rather than illusion. That night in Dominic's penthouse that was now Emma's home too, they stood looking out over the city lights. Do you regret it? Dominic asked quietly. Any of it? Emma thought about that first kiss, about choosing to see him again despite every warning, about standing by him through chaos and danger and uncertainty, about saying yes when every logical part of her brain screamed no. I regret nothing, Emma said firmly. You changed the direction of my life without asking me to become someone else. You gave me space to be myself while becoming more than I thought I could be. That's not something to regret. That's something to treasure. Dominic pulled her close. You saved me. From myself, from my life, from a future that felt like prison. You gave me hope when I'd forgotten what hope felt like. We saved each other. That's how it's supposed to work. They stayed like that for a long time, watching the city they'd both been born, in the city that had brought them together in the most unlikely way. Emma thought about the woman she'd been 2 months ago. Careful, safe, lonely without admitting it. That woman wouldn't recognize who Emma had become, but Emma wouldn't trade this version of herself for anything. She'd found courage she didn't know she had, found love that demanded everything and gave back even more, found a partner who saw her completely and loved her anyway. What began as a reckless 3-second kiss in a crowded bar became the moment that changed everything. Emma had dared to kiss the most serious man in the room, and he'd turned out to be exactly what she'd been searching for without knowing it. Not safety, not predictability, but truth, passion, and a love that refused to apologize for being complicated. And that was worth every risk, every sacrifice, every moment of fear. Because real love wasn't about finding someone who fit perfectly into your existing life. It was about finding someone worth building an entirely new life with. Someone who made you braver, stronger, more yourself than you had ever been alone. Emma had found that someone, and she was never letting go. VidIQ Sonnet 4.5.